Welcome back to The Truth is Viral. I'm your host, Bob Powell, and I was going to stand out there on Lake Huron and do this stand-up, but it's a freaking blizzard out there, folks. We're talking about way negative wind chills because the wind's blowing like 30 knots, and that's pretty fast. So it's rather cold. If you didn't see last week's show in which I laid out the connection between Major General Paul Vallely and Temple of Set founder and devil worshiper Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, the two men had co-authored a paper on how to mind control crowds called Mind War, then you need to watch this episode right here and get caught up. And for those who have already seen it, let's get this show on the road.
Places you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Keep this frequency clear.
And now it's conspiracy. See, they've made that something that should not be even entertained for a minute. That powerful people might get together and have a plan. Doesn't happen. You're a kook. You're a conspiracy buff.
You're watching The Truth is Viral, the only news program on the internet trusted to deliver the truth since 2008. And now, here's your host, Mr. Bobby Powell.
Now we're back live. Now I wanted to play that that clip because it has direct bearing with what I learned today. I've been in contact with Colonel Harry Riley, the founder of this march on May 16th. It's called the American Spring, and Colonel Riley told me just flat out that Major General Vallely has no part of Operation American Spring. And, you know, that really did my heart good because this scumbag right here, Dr. Michael Aquino, is a friend of his. They co-wrote that paper on how to mind, basically, entire countries and entire populations, entire crowds. So they literally wrote the book on how to take control of crowds using surreptitious technology like microwaves and you know, stuff like that. You know, it's not the active denial systems that you see, that everybody sees, you know, the microwaves that make your skin burn and make you run away in fright, or the confusion rays that they've got, or the acoustic sounds that just blow out your eardrums. It's nothing like that. It's very low key. You don't even really know that it's going on until that voice pops into your head and telling you to do stuff. And this technology is already being used in New York City. You walk past a Coke machine, it says, buy a Coke, buy a Coke. You walk past a movie billboard, it says, you've got to go see this movie, it's scary. Ah!
It's not your imagination. What's that? Who's there? Your imagination. What's that? Who's there?
Hundreds of people in the Valley say they are hearing voices in their heads. And those voices are being transmitted by microwave or other methods.
Well, several viewers asked us to investigate what they call electronic harassment. KMIR6's Angela Monroe joins us now with what she's discovered. Angela.
Electronic harassment, synthetic telepathy, voice-to-skull technology. Chances are you haven't heard of these terms, but after searching the internet, I found dozens of websites dedicated to the phenomenon and several Valley residents who say they're victims.
How much more can you invade me than to go into my brain? It sounds
like somebody else is reading the book, only it's thoughts.
We're not having a group hallucination. This is actually something that's happening.
These men all live in the area, didn't know each other before the voices started, and say someone is playing mind games with them.
Mostly it's a lot of derogatory comments about whatever you're thinking about.
Only time I ever had a whole sentence, he said, "This is not about you," which just frosted me. If it's not about me, what the hell am I going through all this for?
Kevin Bond says he used to have a normal life.
I was living in the San Diego area, was clerking for a federal judge, and I noticed that I was being followed by a whole bunch of people.
Bond says he's found more than 300 victims locally and is tracking others across the state through billboards. Robinson leads a national group called Freedom from Covert Harassment and Surveillance. He says he knows who's playing mind games.
Rogue government officials that are sponsoring this, also corrupt business officials, and private citizens.
And he also told us how.
Most of it is delivered by microwave, and I believe it's satellite delivered, whether someone is on a remote location using a laptop or next door using the desktop.
Bond says neurotransmitter chips that run off body electricity have been inserted into some people.
And they assign cell phone numbers to them. The cell phone numbers are then run through a computer, and a computer translates your thoughts. This crime has been available to the military for 60 years.
So yeah, they're using it all the time. And my friend Pete Santilli, my board operator at the moment, he has a lot of knowledge on this microwave technology that they use and other technologies. And I'd like to ask Pete to chime in on this a little bit, because you know, he's got a lot more knowledge on these kind of technologies than I do. So, Pete, what do you have to say about this?
Well, you know what? We're going to take a break here momentarily. This is what I will say: the knowledge has been acquired from two people. First, when I interviewed Dr. Nick Begich and talked to him about HAARP, that was the first time I was introduced to the fact that HAARP, because I was so fascinated by its weather modification capabilities, he was the one that stopped me in my tracks and said, "You know what? You need to worry about HAARP's mind control technology, because they have learned, okay, over the past 30, 40 years, they've learned how to tap in to certain frequencies in our mind to bypass." And by the way, when I say this, this is literally how the patents are written. There are patents, U.S. patents, that were put together in the 40s where they experimented with this, where they could bypass your eyes and your ears and speak to your subconscious. They've figured out what frequencies they can do that. HAARP, okay, now this system of mind control that they've been experimenting with for decades now. Dr. Nick Begich says that HAARP is used, and now we know through another guest that I've had on, her name is Deborah Tavares, and her website is stopthecrime.net. If you want to know, she has essentially the library of how they're using sophisticated technology all the way around us for mind control purposes, such as with smart meters. So it's a pretty sophisticated encircling technology where they're controlling our population. We've got evidence of that. We'll talk more about that when we do come back from this short break.
All right.
Let's just take a short break, and then you know what? This is what we're going to do, Bob. A lot of information to cover. We're getting a late start tonight. I want to go as commercial interrupted as possible. You just let me know when we need to take a break. We have some important information that we have to cover in tonight's episode. Really important. One of which is this mind control thing. And secondly, you know, who do we turn to and trust in this revolution? We don't know. I do have some suggestions, some powerful ones, especially as I've learned my way through this Truckers Ride for the Constitution thing. So we'll offer those up right after this. You guys don't go away.
Okay, now I need to make a distinction between Operation American Spring and Major General Paul Vallely. They are two totally separate entities. When I first started, looking into this story, Major General Paul Vallely was all over the place as having something to do with Operation American Spring. And, it was all over the OAS forum boards. There was a big WND story about Vallely calling for this march. So, it seemed like he was trying to insinuate himself in the movement. But I did send an email directly to Colonel Harry Riley, who really is in charge of organizing Operation American Spring. And I asked him point blank, does Major General Vallely have any connection to OAS? And he shot me back a one-word response, no. So that's pretty clear. Now, I'm not against the idea of an American Spring. As a matter of fact, I am very much for it. I just want true patriots to be involved in this. I don't want there to be any PSYOPs. I don't want anybody with an alternative agenda having anything to do with the organization of this protest, demonstration, whatever you want to call it. Because, my friends, this is our very last opportunity to set this country back on the right path. I don't want anybody messing it up. So you're going to hear, actually, from Colonel Riley in this next segment. So stay tuned. Right after the break, make sure that you click on the ad and send a little love my way. Even if it's only a 1/10 of a cent, believe me, the Truth is Viral needs every penny that it can get to accomplish our mission, saving lives and winning souls for Jesus Christ. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and go to the Truth is Viral blog at bobpowell.blogspot.com and subscribe to that, and keep yourself up to date with the latest news. That's news. So yeah, you're going to see some pretty shocking evidence that Colonel Vallely is involved with al-Qaeda terrorists in Syria too. So, you know, just another reason not to support this man. You know, just like John McCain going over there and swapping spit with some of the most vile people on the face of the earth. Do we really want to place our safety in the hands of somebody like that? I didn't think so. So don't forget to click on the ad, and we'll be right back with more from The Truth is Viral Live.
Okay, we're back. This is The Truth is Viral. Bobby, we want you to take it away from the point at which, actually, I want to play this audio here. As you know, Colonel Riley, this is what I want to contribute to your show, because this just came to the Guerrilla Media Network yesterday. So this is fresh. You haven't even heard this.
Lay
so,
it on me, brother.
Yeah, I'd like to play this. We'll listen to Colonel Riley, because I asked him an important question, a couple of important questions. Here we go. Great answer. Now, I have a couple of very important questions for you. I was involved in this. I was attacked. You know that whenever you have a central authority or an organizer or whoever it is, they're going to attack them. They're going to co-opt an idea, a person. They're going to attack them. I was attacked. They said that I stole $500,000. I was working for the FBI. I was wanting a violent event. I was causing the National Guard to come out. And in fact, I was contacting local law enforcement, telling them, we just want a big traffic jam. That's it. We want the world's largest traffic jam. We want to be lawful and constitutional in this effort. They attacked me. You're being attacked right now.
Constantly.
And you're expecting that, of course. Yeah. They're going to try to subvert. They're going to try to co-opt. Sure. A General Vallely, is he aligned with your, has he endorsed, or is he a fellow organizer of this event? And what do you believe we need to do as far as organizing and communicating? It needs to be kind of spread out a little bit so that no one organization or entity, central operation, can be co-opted. Don't you agree with that? What's your relationship with General Vallely?
General Vallely has he's gotten questions with regard to Operation American Spring, and basically as far as I know, every question or contact that has been made to him, he just simply sends them on to me, or sends them on to our organization.
Okay.
Usually he gets a note via email, and he just forwards it on onto American Spring.
Okay.
He has not, to my knowledge, publicly endorsed, or he's not in the decision-making chain at all.
Okay.
But he's a warrior. He's a general whom I respect, and there's many more out there that I would like to see.
Yeah, there we go.
Come up online and say we support this, and I'd also like to see all these yellow belly worms in Congress that say they're strong,
right,
to come out and say, you know,
it's time.
This American Spring thing is America at its best. It's we the people. That's where the power is. They're coming, and they want to make a demand. They want to present their grievances.
Mm-hmm.
If they feel like Obama is so far off the track,
mm-hmm.
then they need to come out and say so, and say we'll join.
That's right.
We'll join out there and doing the right thing.
And sir, if you don't mind me interjecting in the essence of time, I wanted to ask my next question. What about our active duty military? What are they doing right now for a White House administration that you and I know that they're operating criminally, lawlessly? I mean, they've committed treason against our country in many different respects that we can't even go into right now. What about our active duty military? It is constitutional for us to have a discussion with them and say, please help us out. Our active duty military needs to be involved. Our active duty law enforcement needs to start enforcing the law. We need to elicit their help as well, don't we? What is our current military doing? Mm-hmm.
The active duty military, I believe that, you know, are shadowing us. They understand what we're trying to do.
Excellent.
And I believe they're in full support.
Okay. Fantastic. So, sir, that was it was a great about 45-minute conversation I had with him on the show yesterday. Now, this General Vallely, I was kind of soft, just as long as I knew that he wasn't part of the organizing effort with this American Spring thing, and I felt pretty comfortable that that Colonel Riley's response was pretty appropriate. You know, he wants to to get everyone involved in this, but of course. You and I know that Vallely, I mean, I'm going to go so far as to say this, if you don't mind me speaking strongly about this, as I did today on my show. Vallely is literally, because of what I've seen evidence of him aligning with our sworn enemy, al-Qaeda, in a live leak video, him crossing the border into Syria in violation of our U.S. Constitution. And you know for a fact that when you're in Syria in a war zone like that, and you've got that level of security that he had, the only way he was able to get safe passage out of that situation was to go there with a big bag of cash and full coverage all the way around. This guy, I believe to be an enemy of our state and should not go anywhere near anything having to do with any revolutionary moves here in the United States of America. In fact, when the Civil War kicks off and the bullets start flying, I believe he needs to be one of those ones to take the first 3 as a penalty for his treason against the United States of America. We need to bring him to justice, put him in freaking handcuffs, try him for treason, and lock him up permanently. He will not be involved as long as I'm alive on this planet myself. I will keep speaking out about this. He will not be involved in our command and control structure with the revolution, nor will he be available to take some trinkets on the other side of the revolution. This guy is a dangerous man. He needs to go. Absolutely.
Well, yeah,
you know,
I have to agree, Pete, because we saw John McCain go to Syria too, and my viewers right now are watching pictures of Major General Vallely entering Syria under a heavy Free Syrian Army escort. Now, there are pictures in this video that I'm showing that show General Vallely right there. This man is packing heat. I can't remember the name of it. I contacted my lawyer earlier today and to ask the name of the law. I can't remember the name of the law, but there is a law that says that it is illegal for any American citizen to take up arms against a country that the United States is not at war with. Now, here we see pictures of Major General Vallely packing heat. He's got a shoulder holster. He's sitting here manning a M60 machine gun. So I would say that he's not only a traitor, but he's a felon for picking up a gun in a war zone in a country that we're not at war with. I wish I could remember the name of that law. I just can't.
No, I agree with that. He's on, as it appears in that video, unless that's just a fabricated video, like a fake moon landing, okay? Why you would want to have a video made of you being in a foreign land in Syria, crossing the border with al-Qaeda, all right? He's with al-Qaeda, the FSA, admittedly, with al-Qaeda. They are not only our sworn enemy, but we have literally lost thousands of troops in that effort to go after them since 9/11. Vallely aligning with them is a very bad thing. And anyways, we spoke our piece about that. I believe that Colonel Riley, based on my conversation with him, I believe him to be a warm, sincere, genuine patriot who wants to. You know what he called for? He didn't call for any, and he agreed with me. It shouldn't be a centralized organization of this effort to get to Washington, D.C. In fact, he tried to inspire that we, between now and then, organize local let's get out to the VFWs, the American Legions. Let's organize the militia. Let's start communicating the importance of us getting to Washington, D.C. between now and then, and not have any central organizing force like Colonel Riley. Colonel Riley is merely the catalyst or the person that's inspiring this thing. He's not organizing anything. He's actually laying it out as to why we believe we're justified in doing so. Our country's been hijacked. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to speak of my brief experience. Brief. It's not going to be brief. I'd like to speak of my experience with the whole truckers' ride for the Constitution thing. One thing I learned through that was that all of these players, Zeta Andrews was involved in that thing, and I heard her in the, in your segment there that you just did. Zeta Andrews has learned a lot, in fact, about the mind control thing through her experience by doing her show here on the Guerrilla Media Network. So thank goodness for that, and I'm glad that she's picked up on that. Now she needs to, of course, recognize that she was potentially co-opted for this ride for the Constitution thing. Zeta Andrews, I've never come out and said that she was herself one of those subverters at all. I've never ever said that. All I said was that she did not have the organizational skills to be able to launch a campaign. Thank goodness, we had Guerrilla Media Network to handle all the flurry of worldwide media. That was our involvement. But Zeta Andrews now is staying in the game. I believe she's a patriot. She's trying to do her best, and she's of simple means. So she's doing whatever she can on her own. The bottom line is no one individual should be coming forward. No one organization should be coming forward. Too much at risk. We attempted, through this truckers' ride for the Constitution thing, we attempted to shut down commerce to Washington, D.C. Could you imagine the money behind trying to stop that? Right? There was a lot of money. Yeah, this guy, even Tom Locavara, okay? This guy, I need to call this guy out. This guy is the one that I'm concerned about, because Tom Locavara, he infiltrated Zeta's mind. He was in her room doing videotapes. Tom Locavara seems to involve himself less on inspiring people to take our country back, and more so on this whole PSYOP, which that's the PSYOP, the Mind War manual that you read, specifically states that the best non-lethal means to take care of your adversary is to create argument, confusion, get one side against the other. And it appears that Tom Locavara, once again, whether he's right or wrong on the Vallely thing, the bottom line is the objective in the mind war is to affect a non-lethal means of creating so much argument that nobody accomplishes anything. Okay? So Tom Locavara, Zeta, everyone, we need to all agree that we need to inspire every single household in America to get involved in taking our country back. They can't co-opt every mind. Okay? There shall not be, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want any central organized effort. If there's a military leader like Colonel Riley who can inspire us, and he's got organizational skills. Colonel Riley knows that if the military, active duty or retirees are involved, that they should take direction from a civilian leadership. We need civilian leadership, and guess where they come from? Ladies and gentlemen, don't tell me, because you got a lot of people out there that are pushing for this Republican, that Republican, this Democrat. We need to fire each and every one of them. Anyone that is a multimillionaire that's running for office should not qualify to take charge of the United States of America after we fire everybody. We literally have 92 million people who are unemployed. I'm sure we can find a whole bunch of them. How many people do we need to replace in Congress? 500 plus seats to replace?
No, it's easy to do.
We could literally, in 24 hours, go to Washington, D.C., with tens of millions of people. Ideally, it requires organization to do that. But we could tell them, get the fuck out.
You know, Pete, it's going to take tens of millions of people. It really is. 20,000 is not enough. 100,000 is not enough. 1,000,000 is not enough. Vallely is right about one thing, or Riley is right about one thing. This needs to be an American spring, just like what happened in Egypt. People are so angry. They just don't know where to channel it. So, this sounds like a great idea. Just descend on Washington, D.C. en masse. And just create such a cluster that they don't know what to do. I remember watching during the Truckers' Ride for the Constitution when there was a simultaneous Tea Party demonstration. They took down those barricades and threw them at the White House. And do you know what Barack Obama's response was? He got into Marine One and got the fuck out of Dodge. He's a damn pussy. He's scared. And we need to scare him.
By the way, Jim Garrow said that he was concerned about that event. He was concerned about that event because it had the potential, if the same number of people who showed up to this biker, remember the 1.5 million bikers that showed up?
2 million biker rally, not the truckers.
Could you imagine if the number of veterans that showed up? Because as we were subverted in the Truckers' Ride on the 11th and 12th, we were not going to be deterred. We wanted to go help the veterans, and we actually rode for the Constitution in support of the veterans at the War Memorial. Now, Jim Garrow said, you bet your bottom dollar they were concerned about that when we started throwing barricades. Now, guess what our failure was? Our failure was that we do not have enough Americans that realize how desperate of a situation it is. Now, ideally, and this is where I know you and I are going to do a great job in the coming weeks and months, is to let everybody know what the alternative is. Ideally, they want us doing exactly what we're doing, and that is just staying home and waiting for death and destruction.
I'm not going to stay home. If my wife is, if I can leave her alone for a while, if she's well enough, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. And I'm not going to leave until Barack Obama is gone. It's that simple. I've even, if they want blood, they can have mine.
Yeah, now, you know what? That brings up a great point, because this is another thing that I gathered from Colonel Riley, and he said so very responsibly. Now, when he calls for a peaceful protest, okay, you know what he said? He said, of course we want a peaceful protest. People like me. He's a Vietnam vet. This man has literally been in foxholes with the fallen, okay? His brothers to his left and right having been taken out. He knows what combat is about, and that is not the most desirable way to take this thing back. Now, is he prepared to give his life in this effort? And he said that we all need to be prepared. This isn't going to be like a, hey, let's go for popcorn and wave our flags type of situation. We need to be prepared to lay our lives on the line. Now, we're not going to go there saying that we want violence, but it's going to be backed up by a very credible threat of U.S. Constitution, okay? The Second Amendment shall not be infringed. There shall be people. And he said, even if we have militia members that are outside of the Beltway, okay, ready to go, we need to be prepared for that next step if they refuse to give us our government. But this is our government, sir. This is a government that has been hijacked. And I'm not messing around when I say this, and you're a Marine, okay? I am literally, at this point in time, because I know what tyranny and enslavement is, I see it coming upon us. For my fellow Americans, for future generations, if we don't give our blood today, we're basically going to be pawning it off on the next generation. They'll have no choice but to fight their way out of tyranny and enslavement. So why not preempt it? For our future generations who are already guaranteed that if we fail to respond to this, it's guaranteed they will have to give their lives. They will inherit what we failed to do. We must be prepared to make that sacrifice before that next generation. If you really care about your families and future generations and what they'll be living in, we need to be prepared to give our lives for this effort now. And this isn't like a year from now or 6 months from now. This is now.
Pete, this is not a joke, and it's got to happen. There is going to be blood. There has to be blood in order to wake the people up. I don't want that. That's what I've been fighting against for so long, but I've come to find out, I've come to realize that these people have an agenda. They are so deeply entrenched, and they're not going to give it up. They've been setting up this communization of the United States ever since the Vietnam War, even before that. And you know, they've sent an entire generation of kids like Barack Obama to school, and you know, they've raised these red diaper babies from babies. And now we've got Eric Holder and Barack Obama, the two most vile racists on the face of the earth. Just the other day, Colonel Allen West says, "You think that they don't hate you? They hate you." Barack Obama and Eric Holder, if you're white, they hate your guts.
Oh yeah.
And they're not about to give up power. The only way that we will ever take the power back is to give our blood, not take it, not shed blood, but to give our own blood. And it's not going to be peaceful, Pete.
You know what? You know what's not? Well, listen to this though. Here's the opportunity. Okay, and we talk about the 3%ers. The 3%ers know what I'm talking about. Okay, we can by force. Okay, by force, meaning that if we can convene millions of people, if we can convene millions of people in Washington D.C. and shut down commerce. Okay, that does effectively the same thing that is what happened in Egypt. The reason why Colonel Riley loves that idea to get that many people out is, guess why? Because as long as the economy flows, they have more of an opportunity to skim off the top and take their money offshore. If we come every single day just going to work and trying to pretend like everything is normal, that's one more day that they have to take money out of the United States of America. And we need to preempt that. If we come together and forcefully convene tens of millions of people and get to Washington, D.C. and stop commerce and say, we're not going back to work until you give us our government back. That is by force, okay, causing them to change immediately. We tell them, you're fired, get out. We don't even have to fire a shot. We literally have this moment in our history right now to forcefully stop working, go to Washington, D.C., tell them to get out, replace them, and we get on with our recovery. If they fire that first shot, that means they're resisting, and that's where their tyranny will be exposed. I'm prepared to take that first freaking bullet just to prove our point that these are very evil people who want to kill us. And if it is bloody, they will fire the first shot. They will prove themselves to be who they are: murderous, eugenicist, slave masters. They need to go. Iceland fired their politicians. They fired their banksters. The American public needs to realize that if we don't do that, the alternative is we give the entire system to the freaking evildoers. We give it to them. We just hand it.
Iceland doesn't have much of a standing army either. The American military machine is the most fearsome beast that the world has ever seen. And don't you think for a second that Barack Obama would not unleash it on the people? You know, they'll use this microwave technology to confuse everybody and you know, start trouble, and then that's when they'll send in their DHS and brown shirted goons to start the trouble. And that's when we have to count on the military. I want somebody like Mad Dog Mattis to just stage a damn coup, because that's the only way we are going to get our country back. We need people with guns to fight the people with guns. And I'm sorry, but my 40 cal and my 223 are not big enough. We need somebody
and guess what?
that
Colonel
can.
Riley even said if they wait on the outer. Now, the armed militia, those citizens that have, and we have tens of millions of people with guns, can back up the peaceful protesters. They need to know that when we put 30 million people in the streets unarmed, it doesn't mean that they're unarmed. They're backed up by a credible threat of Second Amendment. We will have a militia that is organizing right now to back up those peaceful protesters. That's the next phase, should they fire one shot upon us. Could I add something, if you don't mind, because of what I've learned about this mind control thing? And every single listener needs to recognize that what you mentioned about using, and you know, please pardon me. I love that I'm talking to you about this, because you're gonna gain the knowledge that I've acquired from Deborah Tavares and Nick Begich. Okay, but Zeta Andrews and this other very nice lady, they sound like they've done just enough research, you know, to really. I don't think they fully understand how dangerous this thing is and what they're doing to us. I've learned this through Deborah Tavares. She's called the smart meter lady. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to know that going to a protest and getting blasted by microwave technology, and you feel the heat and all that stuff, that is the least of your concerns. What we need to worry about right now, and this is a fact, this is not a conspiracy theory. They have for decades experimented with people called targeted individuals, and they've effectively fine-tuned the methods by which they can speak to your brain and control you. They've experimented with it. They have patents, and they've done this for decades. Now they're ready to go with a full-blown implementation, and they have. What we need to worry about is, why are we not revolting? You need to look to your left, look to your right, and realize why your neighborhood has not risen up. We've had trillions of dollars leave our country. Nobody's risen up. We've had politicians virtually bend us all over and rape us, and we don't do anything. They have the technology right now. If you have a smart meter on your home, you need to know that your home is literally being used like a microwave oven. Each and every one of our homes is being used as a microwave oven for them to communicate with our brains and keep us docile. They have used the NSA. They've used all of the technological systems at their disposal, such as, listen to this, Wi-Fi. They use cell phone technology. Okay, they use the Wi-Fi through the smart meter technology. They can communicate with your house. They can literally tap in to an individual's brain once they figure out exactly what frequency you're communicating on, and they can keep us in the middle of the night and really pump information, say, don't worry, the government is your friend. Everything's going to be fine. You just need to go to work tomorrow. And they have been brainwashing us. And they have been literally through our, it's called screen flicker technology in our computers, late night communication into our brains. They've been keeping us docile. And we need to know that it exists. Once you know it exists, you can start resisting it. I'm extremely resistant to it because I know about it. Now, whether or not they can activate me, we know that they've experimented with EMF technology. They have shooters that show up in naval shipyards that write, it's EMF. They're freaking brainwashing me to do this. And you could be activated. Who knows if I would be activated in some fashion. But what I do know is that there's a mass mind control campaign going on right now so that they can keep us in our homes, sitting on Facebook and Twitter, so that they can steal trillions from us. That's what we need to worry about, is why we're not revolting when they've literally taken tens of trillions of dollars out of our country. We no longer have a future if we continue to stay at home. Showing up in Washington, D.C., out in the streets, they're going to use weapons. Getting a blast of heat microwave is the least of our concerns right now. You need to worry about what's happening to you at 3 or 4 in the morning. Now, I'm going to give this website out again. I have no incentive for doing this, by the way. Zero. Other than to communicate the importance of this. Go to stopthecrime.net. Her name is Deborah Tavares. She's one of the most patriotic, one of the most diligent, one of the most articulate individuals I've ever heard of on all of this technology. This is not conspiracy theory, ladies and gentlemen. Each and every one of you listening to my voice right now have been under an active mind control program to keep us docile. That's what we need to worry about, Bobby.
I know the end game. I've read the book. I know how it ends. But you know what? You know what is the most frustrating thing to me? It's the fact that we're being lied to. I mean, I can deal with people that have a differing opinion than I do. I can, speak with them and have an intelligent conversation, and maybe we can even come to an agreement on something. But when the person on the other side of the argument does nothing but lie in order to get their point across, how do you combat that? Everything that Barack Obama has done, everything that he has ever said, is based on a lie. His education is a lie. His place of birth is a lie. His job is a lie. He's a disbarred lawyer. His wife is a disbarred lawyer. The bio that he put on his book jackets, you know, with his publisher. For 7 years, it says Barack Obama was born in Kenya. And you and I both know that when a writer sends his bio to a publisher, he has written that bio himself. And even if he didn't, even if somebody else wrote it, it was his bio, his official bio for 7 years. You'd think that at some point he would have said, hey, I wasn't born in Kenya. Okay, but he didn't. You know, it's just another lie on top of another lie on top of another lie. I am so sick of these lies that I just want to puke. You can't deal with people like that. You have to take what you want from people
Listen
like
to this.
that.
I learned this, not learned this, but Dr. Catherine Albrecht. You know who she is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Catherine Albrecht was on my show today. Not only do we have individuals that are lying to us, okay? This is how pervasive the lies are in our system, okay? If you ever wondered why, you know how we refer to the sheeple, to people that are not awake, right? We point at them, or we look at the, you know, the conservatives, point to the liberals, and the liberals point to the conservatives. Did you know that we are literally, in this mind control program, is further extended to things like, let's say, for instance, your computer, your Google, your Facebook, your Twitter, your entire concocted life around you, okay, is a lie. It is literally based on, let's say, all of your search patterns. If you're searching for liberal stuff, they're going to be feeding you a liberal skew on just about everything. Your friends, your potential friends are liberal. Your ads that show up go towards, you know, liberal ideas. Socialists, okay, do socialist things on the internet, and they're like a rat on the wheel, concocting a fake internet life of all liberal stuff. So you literally have a person that is brainwashed to be nothing but liberal. They get everything served up to them on their Facebook, their Twitter, their Google, everything. All liberals do. And then the conservatives, they get everything with a conservative twist. They're watching Fox News. All of their friends are conservative. They're all talking about all this stuff. So can you imagine those two people getting together after having been brainwashed to no friggin' end, to argue their point as to which side is better? When the conservative speaks to the liberal, we say to them, what the frig are you talking about? That is crazy. Barack Obama is a criminal. Well, they're told Barack Obama is a saint, that he wants what's best for us. Everything that they're reading is tainted and skewed towards Barack Obama being somebody who's great. He's the Messiah on their side. Everything that we're accustomed to on the conservative side is that Barack Obama is the Antichrist, okay?
Pretty much.
Oh, and we've both sides have been brainwashed. Based on what? On lies that have been served up to us technologically as well, not just by people. Our entire lives are concocted that way.
So what are we going to do, Pete?
What we need to do is every single household, if you could, in a utopic world, I believe, if we could reach and speak to every single person and say, you free your mind, resist this mind control technology, you turn off your television, your internet, everything. I'm talking about every freaking thing. And if we all took our Second Amendment and stood at our property line, right, loaded up, and just went out front and said, we're not going to go to work until this entire regime is gone. If we do that, and we all realize as individuals, we have an obligation to do this for our families, for our neighbors, for future generations, and we stop working, stop the flow of money. As long as we go to work every single day, they have more money that they can steal from us and go buy their Greek islands or go send their stuff offshore. They've been extracting money from the United States of America by the tens of trillions of dollars, building their trinkets, doing all this stuff. For each day that goes by that we don't do this, that's one day further in the hole that we are. We must, it doesn't matter how much pain you think you're going to have to take, it is less pain if we do it now. The longer we wait, the more painful and the more bloody this is going to be. You need to, everybody, if you're conservative, if you're liberal, if you're blue, if you're white, if you're black, it doesn't matter what you are. If you're Christian, if you're Israeli, if you're whatever you are, I don't care what you are. If you do not shake away from your bias, okay? And in that scenario that I just said about the lie that's concocted around us, if you're Jewish and you're a Zionist, nobody's going to convince you to be anything other than that. If you're a Roman Catholic and you love the Pope and the Vatican, nobody's going to convince you otherwise because of this big lie. We must all break away from it, and we must stop the system and fire them. And the chaos that will ensue will be so much better than the enslavement that they have prepared for us. That's what the answer is. The answer is a national strike, shut the system down, fire everybody, and start replacing them with some of the 92 million people who are out of work. In 24 hours, we could put brand new people in there who have much more integrity than the ones that are in there now.
Do you think we have that kind of power?
We do. We do have the power. We do have the power. There needs to be some sort of a catalyst to make people realize what's happening. And that's why I say, you know, it might be a good thing that the other side will fire the first shot. I would say that the first shot's already been fired through 80,000 SWAT teamings. If that isn't tyranny, I don't know what is. No. 80,000 SWAT teamings in the United States of America. That's a pretty loud shot, don't you think?
Yeah, well, nobody knows about it, though. That's the problem.
We have an obligation to find out on our own.
Or if they do know about it, it's, you know, spun in such a way where, you know, this guy was such a threat. You know, there wasn't anything to do other than SWAT team him and kill his dog and molest his wife while we were in there and beat the holy hell out of him, like that poor kid, the homeless kid. What was his name? Just his two police attackers were just set free. They just beat the holy hell out of him, and then they said, "We're gonna beat the holy hell out of it, and we're gonna get away with it," and they did. Kelly Thomas, yeah, that poor kid. You know, I watched the video when that first came out. He's begging.
What, Bobby? Can I
ask? His dad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm going to throw to you on this thing because I do believe this. I'm a recovering Roman Catholic, so I'm not one that knows. Well, I know of, and I realize that we're in a very important time biblically, and I believe that they're even using as a playbook almost these Luciferians. Yeah. But you know, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with what little I know about biblical prophecy. But I do know this is a battle here on earth between good and evil. Okay, there are some evil forces that are trying to control us. If we do not resist these evil forces that have totally and completely set us up for this one world tyranny and enslavement, if we do not resist it, we're essentially giving up everything to these Luciferians. And if we do not win this spiritual battle here on earth, I mean, where can we expect to go hereafter?
Yeah. Well, you know, Pete, you're quoting Ephesians 6:12. It says we're not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against the evil rulers and authorities of an unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in heavenly places. And that's exactly what the battle that we're fighting. We can get all the guns that we want, but you know, I don't think that we're going to change God's plan. And God's plan, the way I understand it, is to judge the United States. I mean, we've killed, 65 million babies since Roe v. Wade, or 55 million. I mean, that's just blood on the altar of Satan. There's just no other way to get around it. And they've got a lot of power. Like you said, they're following a playbook, but they think that they can win. And that's just not the way it's going to happen. That's not how the story really ends. But you know, the devil is so stuck on himself. He's such a narcissist. He thinks that he can actually wage war against Almighty God and win, because you know the Bible's written by God. Remember that Al Pacino movie where he was the devil and Keanu Reeves was his son. He says, you know, consider the source. You know, so the devil, you know, doesn't believe what God has decreed. He thinks that he can still beat God. Well, when he was kicked out of heaven, not only was he subordinate to God, but he only was able to take 1/3 of the angels with him. So right there, he's at a numerical disadvantage, and that's why he's on Earth here now, creating Nephilim, and these are human alien, well, not alien, but human demonic hybrids. And you remember when Christ cast the demons out of that one man? They said that Christ said, "What's your name?" And he says, "Our name is Legion." And then he kicked him out, and they said, "Please put us into these pigs," because these spirits are they crave a physical existence. They would rather be pigs than to be kicked out and just roam or live in hell as God's decreed. So and the Bible says, or Christ said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be just before the coming of the Son of Man. And that's what the major problem is, before Noah, is that the land was filled with Nephilim, these human demonic hybrids. And that's why God sent the flood, was to destroy all of them. And it wasn't just humans, because they were doing it with animals too. The stories that you hear in ancient Greek mythology of the Minotaur, or a satyr or whatever, with goat's feet and a bull's head. These are all experiments of the alien. I keep on saying alien. Well, they are alien, but these demonic entities.
These interdimensional beings.
Interdimensional beings, and that's. We could go on to a whole nother show about UFOs, but that's how they get around. They're not extraterrestrial in the normal sense that everybody thinks of little green men coming from another planet. They're interdimensional beings. The interview that I did with Chuck Missler last year was awesome, because he explained how they enter our dimension, how UFOs can seemingly defy laws of gravity, make 90-degree hairpin turns going 6,000 miles an hour, because they're not fully in our dimension. So they're not subject to the laws of physics. How many dimensions have physicists determined that there are? Like 11. And I'm getting into, I'm getting way out there now. But what we see now, we see the Bible coming true in the headlines every single day. The Gog-Magog war, laid out in Ezekiel 38 through 39, is exactly the way it was prophesied. Is exactly the way it's turning out in today's headlines. Every single country that's listed in Ezekiel 38 and 39 is now part of a coalition that's coming up against Israel. And if they weren't against Israel before, well, Barack Obama has done his best to insert the Muslim Brotherhood government to make sure that there is an Islamist government that wants to see Israel wiped off the map. And so this is going to happen. That matter of fact, it's the next event on the prophetic timeline, is this Gog-Magog war. Now, during the Gog-Magog war, Israel is going to experience a supernatural intervention from God. They will have their Iron Dome, but they're going to be, I've seen the Iron Dome in action, and it cannot handle multiple launch rocket system. It can't handle one multiple launch rocket system. It may shoot down 2 or 3, but when you've got 12 incoming missiles all at the same time, it can't handle that. What's going to happen when there are thousands of missiles? And I'm not talking about these Katyusha rockets and little mortars, but we're talking about Scuds coming from Iran, coming from Syria, coming from Iraq, from Turkey. I don't think that Saudi Arabia has a huge Scud inventory, but actually in the Gog-Magog war, they actually sit it out. And that kind of makes sense, because recently it's come to light that Israel and Saudi Arabia have signed this little secret peace treaty. Israel already has a base in northern Saudi Arabia where their planes are parked right now. And this is not because the Saudi Arabians like Israel. They are deadly enemies with Israel, but they are just as afraid, if not more afraid, of a nuclear Iran. Because, Saudi Arabia is Sunni Muslim and Iran is Shia Muslim. And they are mortal enemies, and they have been since the death of Muhammad. And the Saudi Arabians are deathly afraid of Iran getting a nuclear weapon. So they would rather help the Israelis attack Iran and get that enemy out of the way, because then Saudi Arabians think that they can deal with Israel. Well, it's not going to happen that way, because it's not the way God has decreed. But when this Gog-Magog war starts, the only way that Israel is going to be able to survive is through supernatural intervention from God. And one of the last verses in Ezekiel 39 says that that's exactly what will happen. God says that I will make myself known before the nations, and you will know that I am the Lord. The entire world will see this. And after the Gog-Magog war, the very next event on the prophetic calendar is the second coming of Jesus Christ. So once the Gog-Magog war starts, if you're not right with God, honey, baby, you better get right with God, because you don't have much time left. Matter of fact, Christ, the rapture could happen at any moment. I'm not expecting it to, because I've got this whole blood moon thing that I'm expecting to happen first. But there is nothing that stands in the way of Christ coming right this very minute. So if you're not ready for it, you need to get ready for it, because you don't want to be left behind. If you think that the world is bad now, wait until the tribulation kicks in, when Christians, or even people that don't necessarily agree with the government, are going to be rounded up, put in FEMA camps. And if the attempts at re-education fail, well, it's off with your head.
If you've made it this far, congratulations. People have been asking me, well, Bobby, what do you plan on doing? Well, my plans are not yet set in concrete. There are a lot of factors that go into that. One of the major factors is making sure that there's somebody here to take care of my wife. And if I can arrange it, support it or not, I would like to be in Washington, D.C. to cover this Operation American Spring. I've got the technology now that I can stream live on YouTube, on livestream.com. So, make sure that you subscribe to The Truth is Viral, and if I can get there, you're going to see what's going down as it happens with your own two eyes. But, like I said at the top of the show, I think I am going to support this. I'm not 100% sure. Something like this, it's big, folks. And it's not something that you want to rush into. It's not something that you want to support every person that says, yeah, let's go get Barack Obama, okay? You've got to know who these people are. Because I'm here to tell you, my friends, everybody's got an agenda. Nobody thought that Barack Obama was going to be the satanic plant that he is. And look what we've got now. Now, General Vallely's connections with Satanists and al-Qaeda terrorists are well known. And I've showed them to you in the last two shows. This is definitely not a man that we want leading us in a second American Revolution. There are plenty of other patriots, plenty of other retired military that we can throw our weight behind. Colonel Riley seems like he's a decent fella. And after I get a chance to talk to him myself, I will make my decision as to whether I'm going to throw the weight of The Truth is Viral behind Operation American Spring. So you want to know what I'm thinking about it? Let's go back to the last TTiVLIVE, and you can see what I think I might do. It's interesting. I don't know if it'll work or not. Maybe if I get 1,000 people or 10,000 people to join me, that would make a statement. I guess we'll see how it pans out. Right now, let's go back to TTiVLIVE. And don't forget to watch us tonight, every Friday night, at bobpowell.blogspot.com on TTiVLIVE at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm on the Guerrilla Media Network too.
Welcome back to The Truth is Viral Live. My name is Bob Powell. I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. We've been talking with Pete Santilli. We got some things cleared up on Operation American Spring. Turns out that Colonel Riley, the fellow that's putting this together, I got an email from him today. I had asked him point blank, is Major General Paul Vallely, does he have anything to do with Operation American Spring? I got back a one-word answer: no. So, and Pete played a clip of an interview that he did with Colonel Riley yesterday, and got pretty much the same answer. So, while I'm not yet ready to throw the weight of The Truth is Viral behind Operation American Spring, it is looking promising. And I will look into it more. I'll find out more about Colonel Riley, because I'll tell you, folks, if I can find the right person, somebody that I know is a patriot, somebody that I can feel in my heart, somebody that I can trust with my life, somebody like, say, Mad Dog Mattis, somebody like that, I'll follow them to the gates of hell. And you need to wrap your mind around the fact that the only way that we are ever going to save this republic is for somebody to give themselves up for blood to be spilled. That's the last thing I want. But if they want blood, they can have mine. And it's gotten to that point. I will sacrifice myself. I love this country. I don't like it much these days because it's run by liars. It's run by immoral men, people that we cannot trust. That's unacceptable. And it's got to change. I'm not sure how it's going to happen. But I am sure about one thing. If we don't change it now, with our bodies and our commitment, then that task is going to fall to our children. And I love my family too much to let them grow up as slaves. Not on my watch. Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral, right here on the Guerrilla Media Network. You can catch us each and every week at bobpowell.blogspot.com and guerrillamedianetwork.com. My name is Bob Powell. Until next time, as always, God bless. Semper Fi. Hoorah.
Thank you for watching The Truth is Viral with your host, Bobby Powell. Make sure to follow The Apocalypse on Twitter at The Truth is Viral. Like The Truth is Viral on Facebook, and if you can, please remember to donate to the cause via PayPal at www.bobpowell.blogspot.com.
Smack runner, your game is through. Smack runner, I'm talking to you.
There we go. Now, wouldn't it be Was that cool?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I took up, I had a lot of stuff, in a condensed version to say out there, but obviously a lot to consider. We're learning a lot. The more people that we're bringing on, we're learning so much more about this whole mind control thing. It is out of freaking control, dude. Out of control. Yeah.
Let me tell you, Pete. I'll tell you what's. I'll tell you how desperate I am. To change something. Like I said, it's going to take blood, and if they want blood, they can have mine. I've got nothing left to give.
Immune system. As a talk show host,
yeah, they've taken everything from us.
I'll go to Washington D.C. and it's not in my nature to hurt anybody, but I'll sit there in front of the White House. And I'll go on a hunger strike or something like that, and I'll give my own body until somebody damn pays attention. Yeah, if I'm sitting there in front of the White House and I'm not eating for a week, 2 weeks, maybe the mainstream media camera will come by and they'll interview me and ask me what in the hell I'm doing.
Do you agree with me that it's people like you and I that need to let them know that the peaceful protesters that we're trying to inspire to get out on the streets are going to be backed up by people like us who are prepared to give our lives in their defense? Right? We don't.
Somebody's going to have to. It took that guy in Tunisia setting himself on fire before their government changed. I'm not about to do anything crazy like that, but and besides, remember, I think it was either during the Patriots Ride for the Constitution or during the 2 Million Bikers rally. It was during one of those two. Some guy actually did set himself on fire on the mall, and he got like 30 seconds on Fox, and we never heard from him again. Did you hear about that? The guy set himself on fire?
Yeah, sure did.
But never heard anything after that. So if he was trying to protest something, it wasn't very successful because about 4 people, and you and me included, heard about it. But if I'm sitting there in front of the White House for 2-3 weeks on end, maybe a month, we're not eating, and maybe it'll shake some people up. Say, if this guy's willing to die for what he believes in, maybe we ought to pay attention to what he's got to say.